Yo, 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 how we doing? How we doing? It's time to have some fun. We're going to be chatting Australian Grand Prix. And then I understand I'm very late to the party, but we're going to be chatting Australian Grand Prix. We're going to go back over our predictions we made before the weekend started, and we're gonna chat some stuff, and then maybe we'll do a round of F1 Manager after we're done. I have a splitting headache since yesterday, so we're gonna knock this out. Probably be a shorter one tonight, but I want to chat Australia. I want to have at least one round of F1 Manager because I enjoy that game. I'm hard addicted to that game still, and I'm gonna do it pretty much no matter what. I currently am working on trying to get all of my thoughts down on Australia, and I should have done this well before I started, but I kind of just started. So, you know, I'm gonna quickly try and type up some notes, and then we'll get into. I want to make a YouTube video for tomorrow. Again, very late to the party, but that's the plan. How are you, Canada? How was your weekend? It's been a minute. Australia is the madness, so we have to talk about for the yes, exactly. I saw that take come out a lot of Australia needed to live up to some kind of thing because we have literally a month until the next race weekend. So I think we'll definitely be talking about it pretty much no matter what. Good, love to hear it. Let me see. Perfect. Let's see. Qualifying. Sure. Uh-huh. Cool. And I really should have done this earlier, but I didn't really think about taking notes until I'm really excited to talk about Haas's results from this week. Alright, the plan. I do want to make this into a YouTube video, so we're not necessarily rush, but we're gonna move. We're not gonna get too stuck on any particular subject. We'll go into greater depths of everything probably once this is over and we start playing some F1 Manager. That's kind of the plan. I'm trying to shoot for this video to be 10 to 15-ish minutes. So that's kind of what we're going for. Once that's over with, then we'll go through and we'll get more in depth. We got plenty to talk about, 1,000,000% plenty to talk about. So let me turn this light on. A little better. I turned my other light on. I feel like.
Sorry, it looks like those lights haven't been set up yet.
Google's chatting nonsense. A little better. This light is way brighter than this light. Come on, man. That's a little better. I'm gonna do the intro. I'm gonna do the intro on stream today because when I did this last week with the predictions, I said I was gonna do the intro and the outro afterwards. Then I completely forgot, went, took a shower, got ready for bed, and then immediately forgot and had to run back downstairs to knock it out. So we're just gonna do it live, and we'll take the results as it comes. Okay. I'm gonna jump straight into it. I'm gonna get myself a buffer. Hold on. Oh, also, I got to rearrange my desk a little bit. I still have some things I need to figure out and fix, but while we were gone, I went to a Micro Center and got some cables that I was missing and I needed. Some of them are longer, and so I was able to move my mixer directly in front of me. So now look how far back I can walk with my headphones. I could be all the way over here. I can move about the space. I can come all the way over here. Or over here. We got space. We got space to work with. Space to play with. Alright, hold on. One thing I do need is another mouse pad to go on this side, because I currently have my mouse pad kind of doing this across the edge, and like there's a flap right here in front of me that's like not on the desk, and I hate it. Used to have a 3-meter cable for your headphones when you was a DJ some years ago. Yeah, it's this is the same cable that these headphones came with, and I didn't notice and understand how amazing having this long of a cable is until now. Like, I'm even running it below the desk, up and then around the other side. It's not even running straight to it. It's literally running underneath the desk and then back up. I can walk all the way to the other side of the desk. Ladies and gentlemen, the Australian Grand Prix was this past weekend, and boy, do we have some things we need to chat about. We saw some absolutely wild things. It was a race that went from potentially very exciting to very boring to very exciting to even more exciting. They have a lot to talk about. We're going to go through it right now. But first, if you enjoy Formula One content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ah, damn it. But first, if you like Formula One content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. We do a lot of Formula One content on this channel, both in real life as well as in the Formula One video game. So if you are an F1 fan, hit that subscribe button, join the community. But for now, let's go ahead. Let's talk about the Australian Grand Prix. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Come on. What are we talking about? Chilling. Vibing even. My posture recently has been horrific, so my back is like on fire today. Mainly because like it's my first full day back, and I've tried to like fix it a little bit, and it's just it ain't working right. Also, I had to have some blood work done today, so my right arm is like a little sore, like right here, literally. Now the dogs are barking. Hold on a second. Sorry. I did see that that meme on Twitter where it's just Carlos, no, I'm right here. Sorry, force of habit. Just like, yeah. Getting a weird phantom signal from my mic, and I don't know what it is. It's weird, whatever it is. Okay, let's do. We're gonna start with what did I say? I just sent pictures of your face after Charles DNF on third turn entire weekend. You were like, I'm so excited to see the race. Third turn, it's over. It's over, dude. It was bad. I was excited to see Charles too. We're gonna get to it, but he was featured heavily in my official predictions for the race and qualifying. So yeah, there's a problem. There's a problem. And speaking of that, I'm gonna pull up the results of everything. What the hell? Australia. We're gonna talk about qualifying first. So I'll pull that up. First things first, qualifying usually is the beginning of the race weekend for a lot of people. It's the first time we get to see the cars out on these specific circuits in anger, trying to set the fastest times possible. And we had some actually very surprising results come out of Australia. I don't think any more wild and strange than seeing one Sergio Perez going off on the first lap of Q1 into the gravel, beached and out of qualifying. And I think I speak for a lot of us when I say I did not have that happening. I think all of us were very shocked and appalled that even though he had been having brake issues all weekend long, all throughout the practice sessions, it was not I don't think many of us had him going out of Q1 on his first lap of qualifying on our bingo cards. So a Perez stinker for sure in qualifying, something we're not used to seeing from a very consistent driver. But unfortunately for him, that meant a back of the grid start, in which actually ended up being a pit lane start after he took a handful of new components, since he was starting at the back anyway. Other news around qualifying is Mercedes. Mercedes basically came to play, and is Mercedes on the move? We haven't seen too many, components come for the W14 in its current iteration. We've heard a lot of talk about, what this W14 is going to be looking like soon and how all of these problems they have. And all of a sudden, you get to Melbourne, and all of a sudden Mercedes qualifies P2 and P3. George Russell out qualifying Lewis for the third time in as many races this season, but it is a double Mercedes top 3 in qualifying. And even then, Fernando Alonso just didn't seem to have the same pace, and for some reason, somehow, Mercedes came to play at Australia, and I think it was all very exciting. I think the 2-on-1 aspect of getting a couple of Mercedes against Max Verstappen, who ended up starting first in pole position, is very, very intriguing. And once we get to the race, we will certainly be chatting about that. But Mercedes, I think, might have been our biggest surprise in qualifying here around Australia, in the best way possible. On the flip side of that, though, you have Ferrari. I mean, I don't know. I've only been following Formula One for so long. I've only been following Formula One for about a year at this point. And so my only experience with Ferrari is last season, where they finished second in the Constructors' Championship. Charles Leclerc finishes second in the Drivers' Championship. And here they come to Melbourne with their entire fan base waiting, begging them to figure it out and take a step forward. Carlos Sainz out qualifies Charles Leclerc. Carlos finishing in P5, Charles in P7 behind Lance Stroll, who splits the Ferraris. I don't know what it is going on about the SF23, but Ferrari better figure it out quickly, or else, man, Aston Martin and Mercedes are going to be leaving them in the dust. And so, realistically, our final standings for qualifying: Max Verstappen takes pole position, followed by George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, respectively, Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll, Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon. We need to take a moment and appreciate the Williams W that came through in qualifying in Australia, as Alexander Albon demanded respect. That Williams is extremely slippery, especially apparently when what was a very, very quick Sector 2, is I don't know how many times I saw Albon go purple in qualifying. What an absolutely fantastic day for Albon, and absolutely set up a monstrous race Sunday for the squad. We'll see how they ended up finishing. It was a little less good than they may have initially hoped, but what a moment and what a performance from Albon, who probably is best qualifying in the Williams that I can remember for sure. And then rounding out the top 10, Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg. Rounding out the top 10 in qualifying. Quickly run through the rest of the grid: Esteban Ocon, Yuki Tsunoda, Lando Norris, Kevin Magnussen, Nick De Vries, Oscar Piastri, Zhou Guan Yu, Logan Sargent, Valtteri Bottas, and the aforementioned Sergio Perez, who actually did not even set a time, but thankfully he's in the fastest car on the grid, so he ended up well qualifying enough for the race. And what an odd qualifying. It had intrigue, it had moments, it had some spice, it had a lot of cars running many laps in a row, which I found fascinating. But as they say, qualifying only leads to the race, so we'll talk about that right now. Alright, I rambled a lot more than I was kind of hoping for, so I'm definitely gonna have to cut that down. Sean, also welcome in. You came in literally as I was starting to talk. Yes, rumors are Ferrari still waiting for rain in Q3. 100%. He did get Q3 in Spa last year, but this was different. Like, I think, yes, he did get Q3 at Spa, but this was a qualifying where I don't know if I would have been surprised to see him potentially, like, almost potentially like out qualify Ferrari in a good lap. Like the way that Ferrari bottled qualifying, the fact that he put that thing in P8 is very, very impressive. Oh, 100%. Mercedes, yeah. We'll find out what Mercedes has going on in Baku for sure. 100%. It is a sprint weekend. Is it this weekend also one of Pirelli's new tire components qualifying? Like the tire things. Yes, next week in Baku, normal sprint race with a new format. That's the one that's being discussed. Show me. Isn't this the Pirelli thing where they're only they're like, it's like hards for Q1, mediums for Q2, and softs for Q3? Or am I crazy and I just saw that completely out of left field? Friday race quality, Saturday sprint quality plus sprint race, 2 qualifying sessions in a weekend. I mean, what are we doing here? Like realistically, like what are we talking about? 2 qualifyings in a weekend. I mean, it might work, but at the same time, just feels like a lot. You know, it feels like a lot. But whatever. Okay, let's get into our race results. We're gonna do this one real fast. All right, I want to get through all this so we can chat the rest from there. Our rapid fire race results. We had a great start for Mercedes off of the line as the lights went out. George Russell getting in front of Max Verstappen, not but a corner or so in, having that inside line. A fantastic start from Russell on that one. Following up the first corner, Lewis Hamilton ends up getting by Max Verstappen. Max ended up braking extremely early going into turn 3, and so Lewis was able to get a very nice move done on the inside and get past the Red Bull as well. And actually it was a Mercedes 1-2 for more than a few laps going into this one, which was setting up some interesting prospects to go down here. As you know, I think everyone was excited to see a 2-on-1 Mercedes on a Red Bull to see what they can make happen. But unfortunately, what came next was a bottle job by our qualifying hero Alex Albon. Loses it going into the beginning of sector 2 and sprays gravel far more than the eye could see across the entire circuit, and causing at first a safety car, in which we see many drivers opting to I did miss the Stroll Leclerc incident. You're right, I did. In my notes I just have I forgot. I forgot the damn Leclerc incident. I lost literally my entire train of thought. I just started talking about Albon, so yeah, it happened so suddenly, and like it happened so early that it just So much more happened in the race that it's easy to fall through. Like it's crazy to think that that's one of like the like most forgettable parts of this race. Another victim in the lap one craziness of Australia was one Charles Leclerc, going into the infamous now, I think, turn 3 at Australia. Claimed many victims this weekend. Charles tries to make a bit of an aggressive move to try and get by the 2 or at least one of the Aston Martins and Lance Stroll. Unfortunately, trying to go 3 wide into a turn where 3 rarely goes into 1. Lance just taps Charles just enough to spin the Ferrari around and ends up going backwards into the gravel pit, and Charles also out of the Australian Grand Prix on lap 1. It was absurd, the amount of things that happened in this race that seemed to get swept under the rug. It's crazy that this might have been one of the more forgettable incidents that happened in this one, as especially the way the race continued on and the race ended, that this really was probably the least memorable results, the DNF, we can say, of Australia. I'm gonna do the Albon section over again. As the race continued, we managed to get a few more laps in of a Mercedes 1-2 before, unfortunately, our qualifying hero of the weekend, Alex Albon, loses control at the beginning of sector 2 and puts it into the wall and sprays a metric boatload of gravel across the circuit, preempting a safety car to come out, in which many drivers opt to take a cheap pit stop this early in the race to get onto the hard tires, expecting to go to the end. A handful of drivers end up staying out, which would have given us, I think, a very interesting prospect going down going down towards the midpoint of this race, seeing a lot of alternate strategies as well as original strategies potentially colliding, giving us some very interesting running before the FIA and the stewards determined that there was just far too much gravel, and we got our first red flag of the day. As the drivers all make their way into the pits, they pretty much all make their way onto a hard set of tires, and the plan was from there to go to the end on those hard tires. And I think it set up a bit of a snoozer, to say a little bit. It's really unfortunate the way it kind of ended up panning out. I think it was going to be, it went from a very high potential for entertainment to a fairly long, drawn out race management simulator more than anything, where once it all sort of shook out, Max Verstappen ends up getting by Lewis Hamilton about as easy of an overtake that I think he could potentially manage. That Red Bull is a rocket ship in a straight line, and I think from there we got probably about 30-ish laps of pretty much everyone kind of keeping form, everyone just kind of making their way to the end. And I think we all thought it was going to come down to who potentially could save their tires enough to potentially make a bit of a dash at the end, but it definitely turned into more of a race management sort of situation over an actual race situation. But that is until Kevin Magnussen saves the day, I believe on lap 53 of 58, puts it into the wall on the exit of turn 2, just gets a little too close, taps the wall, and another safety car, and eventually our second red flag of the day. Everyone into the pits, soft tires go on, and we are going to have only a few laps of a shootout to try and determine the finishing order here in Australia. And this is the moment that we all, I think, have been waiting for, the final 2-lap sprint where everyone on a fresh set of, or at least a newer set of soft tires and 2 laps, no DRS, to try and win a race. I think everyone sensed that the win was basically up for grabs. Whoever could make it in the lead at the beginning would definitely be putting themselves into a position to win the race. And what ended up happening was, I believe by my counts, 5 more DNFs. We had, starting from the order of probably least important to most important, we had Logan Sargent absolutely careen into the back of Nick DeVries into turn 1, pushing both of them into the gravel, both of them out. Going into and out of turn 1, we had Carlos Sainz tapping Fernando Alonso, spinning Fernando around, effectively ending his race, even though he ended up able to continue on. As we make our way out of the carnage that was turn 1, you had the 2 Alpines come together, and unfortunately the pink car, it was no more, either of them in fact, as both Ocon and Gasly get tangled up into each other, into the wall, and both of their races were also finished in that moment. Continuing on towards turn 3, we have Lance Stroll deciding to go straight on. This was probably my favorite moment, realistically, of the restart, the final restart, where Lance Stroll makes it through, makes up many positions, and instead of turning right, goes straight at a right-hander and ends up having to make his way through the gravel pit. On the carnage on the other side, we end up getting a safety car and effectively an almost, immediate red flag, as there are many vehicles crashed out of this one, and unfortunately that effectively ended the race. The only questions left were what was going to be the restart order for the finish, because the lap results may not have counted, the lap itself did count, and so the restart would be the formation lap for the restart would be the final lap, and so it all came down to who was going to be in what position for the final restart. There was a Haas moment where we potentially were looking at a Nico Hülkenberg podium as he made his way through in P4, and with Carlos Sainz likely getting a penalty, which he ended up getting, it would have promoted Hulk into the podium, but unfortunately they went back to the original restart order, sans all of the drivers who are now out. And so with 12 drivers on the grid, they make their formation lap in succession. The race results are as follows. Max Verstappen wins the Australian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso occupy the second and third steps of the podium. Lance Stroll 4th, Sergio Perez 5th, Lando Norris 6th, Nico Hülkenberg 7th, Oscar Piastri scoring points in his home debut. Zhou Guanyu and Yuki Tsunoda round out the top 10, with Valtteri Bottas and Carlos Sainz coming home to wrap up in 12th position, with 8 other cars not finishing the race. What a race. What a crazy race, to say the least. But unfortunately, I think the biggest loser of the final results, besides Alpine, who decided to crash each other out, is Carlos Sainz, who get a 5-second penalty, which was enforced at the line. So he ended up dropping from P4 to P12, finishing last of those who did. I'm talking way too much. I was really trying to knock this thing out in like 30 minutes, not gonna lie. The Alpine Civil War is hilarious to me. It might have been the most funny. Yeah, I realized I didn't mention George until right at the end. It's gonna come up in the next section. The next section is gonna go really fast. Yeah. Him going to pit, which was the right call before the red flag came out, and then even on the restart made his way back up to like 4th, before his I saw a joke on Twitter, which was like Mercedes experimenting with an external combustion engine over an internal combustion engine. I enjoyed that. Yeah, Alonso basically as soon as the red flag came out, immediately, oh, we have to go back to the order, blah 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 blah. Just like Silverstone, blah 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 blah. He was on it the moment it happened. Yes, as soon as Max got by Lewis, he put 2 seconds into Lewis from basically the middle of sector 2 to the line. 2.5 seconds. Crazy. Stupid. That Red Bull's a rocket ship. I think the only person on the grid who might know the rules more is George. I believe George Russell knows the rules better than the FIA does. Yeah, getting the back-to-back DRS zones was a huge part of it. True. Every team out there has at least 1 point. Very true. They're the only drivers who haven't. Oh, so sad. True, yeah. Logan and Nick both didn't. I got really excited about my Logan Sargent pick to score points. Once I saw how good Albon was doing in qualifying, but unfortunately, he just did not. He didn't have it. He didn't have it. De Vries really struggled. Yeah, he needs. I don't know if he's just not vibing with the AlphaTauri, which I mean, let's not beat around the bush. The AlphaTauri still isn't great, no matter how many P11s and P10 from Yuki. I think Yuki is out driving the AlphaTauri. I don't think the AlphaTauri is actually that good. All right, weekend winner and weekend loser. All right, it's time now for our weekend winners and our weekend losers. And for our winners, I'm choosing Mercedes. I think even with George's mechanical failure after the first red flag restart, he showed some pace that I don't think we've seen from a Mercedes, specifically race pace that we've seen from them at all, either this year or last year. And so I think it was very impressive. I think Lewis was able to also kind of get a lot out of his Mercedes out of that W14 throughout the entire race. I mean, he was able to hold off the gap to Fernando Alonso to not allow Alonso to be able to attack him down the stretch. As it was seeming, every time Alonso seemed to push, Lewis seemed to always be able to put out, another, 4 to 5 tenths to reintroduce that gap and not allow Fernando into his DRS range pretty much for, I mean, we were looking like 20 something odd laps. Obviously it wasn't enough to hang with Max, but I mean, very few cars out there are, if any, definitely none. And so I think my weekend winner is Mercedes. Now, on the flip side of that same coin, our weekend loser, and I don't think this is too much of a shocker, but I've gone for Ferrari. Charles being taken out lap 1, Carlos with his 5-second penalty after the final red flag restart, tapping Fernando Alonso and spinning him out. Even though the results of those incidents in that lap were effectively reset, the stewards give Carlos a 5-second penalty on a basically a formation lap finish, which ended up dropping him all the way out of the points. And so after 3 rounds of this season, Ferrari has regressed so far from how they finished last year. Carlos drove a fantastic race, but unfortunately just right at the end made one mistake and completely unravels his entire weekend in not but a moment. So those are my winners and losers from the weekend. Winners: Red Bull, Hamilton, Mercedes, Aston Martin, McLaren, Hülkenberg, Zhou, and Shinoda. Yeah, those all sound good. All right, and finally, we're gonna do our predictions recaps. No, actually, McLaren. Actually, I think McLaren might have been my weekend winners if the like 7-way DNF at the end didn't happen, because Lando was gonna score points, I think, regardless. Pastry, I think, really only got points because of the craziness that was right at the end. So they might have gotten my weekend winners if basically the end just didn't happen. They definitely did good though. Lando's only, where am I? Yeah, Lando is beating Charles Leclerc already. Losers: Ferrari, Alpine, Magnussen, DeVries, Williams, Russell. Just bad luck. Yeah. I mean, when was the last time we saw a Mercedes mechanical failure? Like mechanical retirement? I feel like it just doesn't happen. Pacer was not far P11 before. Yes, but he was closer than I thought, but I still don't think he was scoring points. The problem. The mechanical problem probably was not the entire engine burn. Yeah, I think it was probably something relatively minor. Apart from the mistake he made it to the, yeah, fair. Stroll didn't have the best race, but he brought the Aston home for staying out of trouble. I mean, yes, he finished 4th, but at the same time, that's only also because of Sainz's penalty and Pierre's the Alpine incident. So I'm struggling to give Stroll a pass because of that. He ran a fine race, but I don't think it was as great and crazy as the finish. Okay, let's do prediction results, and then we'll finish up with this, and then we can chat for sure. For real. The last time you had Mercedes set a fire come out was Hamilton, all leading most parts of the race in Malaysia 20. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it just doesn't happen. Like, I've been following for a year, and it's just like, this is not how, I don't know if I've ever seen that. They've obviously had mechanical issues, but never like an actual retirement. All right, and as for our official predictions made in our Australian Grand Prix predictions video, let's go through them one by one and see how we did. Our biggest positive surprise, I said and predicted that Logan Sargent was going to score his first points in his Formula One career, and that is a resounding negative. It definitely did not happen. His day really just never really panned out, even in a Williams that showed a lot of promise around Australia. He just never really seemed to be able to extract, really extract the performance that Albon was, and then it kind of all culminated on the last red flag restart where he punted Nick DeVries into the Shadow Realm and ending both of their races. So that is a big double negative on our prediction of Logan Sargent points. As for our biggest disappointment, I said McLaren would not score any points once again, and once again, double negative. Not only did McLaren score points, they scored a double points finish with, Lando finishing P8, and Lando finished, I'm gonna have to redo this one, hold on. Lando finished P6, 6 and 8. Oscar was 8. And as for our biggest negative surprise, our biggest disappointment, I had McLaren not scoring any points once again around Australia. I even threw in a qualifier saying that it wouldn't even be particularly close, and once again proven doubly wrong, because not only did McLaren score points, they had a double points finish with Lando Norris coming home to finish 6th and Oscar Piastri finishing 8th, getting his first points of his F1 career. And so I am a very resounding 0 for 2 so far in my predictions for Australia, but I think that's going to all change coming up for the next one. For qualifying, my top 3 were Max taking pole position. That's a point. Put it on the board. Unfortunately, I had Sergio Perez coming home and finishing P2 in qualifying, so that's 1 thumbs down. And in P3, I had 1 Charles Leclerc. So I got 1 for 3 out of qualifying results. And so I'm not giving myself a double thumbs down. I'm just giving myself a, hey, you got pole position right. And then as for race results, it's going to go a very similar route as I had Max winning, Checo in P2 and Charles Leclerc in P3. So once again, not a double thumbs down, but at the same time, it is at least we got 1 right. Of course, it might be the one everyone was predicting, but we take those where we can get them. This weekend did not go great for me in terms of predictions, but you know what did go great for me? You know what did go great? This channel is a Haas channel, if you see the F1 Manager series, and so I made a bold prediction for Haas. 2 cars into Q2. Check and check. 1 car into Q3. Thank you, Nico Hülkenberg. And at least 1 car in the points. That's 3 for 3 on Haas predictions for the Australian Grand Prix. And so even though I had a terrible predictions session for Australia as a whole, we got the Haas predictions 100% correct. And in my books and my eyes, that's all that matters. Baku is up next in a month. And so we have a long way to go. There'll be a lot of discussion about the results of Australia. You can keep an eye on this channel in particular. I have a couple of ideas of other videos to talk about, kind of the things to help fill the void over the month until the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But with that said, that's going to wrap up our post-Australian Grand Prix video. Our predictions went bad. The race was good and entertaining, to say the least. But what did you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, if you enjoy Formula One content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from me. I try and upload every day during the week. But for now, I think that's going to do it for us here, and I'll see you in the next one. Boom. All right, Canada. See ya. You might catch us right at the end of an F1 Manager game. We'll have to see. My headache is killing me, so I think I might do one, and then I'll probably drop early to try and edit this video. It is already 8 o'clock. It is also a sprint race in Baku. True. Actually, I think I'm gonna end early. I know I've only been going for like an hour, and I 100% understand this. I have a splitting headache I've had all day, and I still have to edit this video, and that's gonna take me a minute. So I think I'm gonna end early. We'll be back on Friday. I'm going to try and get my wheel and pedal situation figured out. I don't have a 100% solution for it yet, but I'm trying. We're going to try and do that as a goal. Worst case scenario, I'm going to also potentially we'll do some Haas, or I might try and come up with some other things we can do in F1 Manager in the meantime. But I'm going to drop early. My head is killing me. I appreciate you guys coming out. I know it's been a week since the last stream. It was a pleasure chatting the race. Well, definitely, I want to talk about it more on Friday, where hopefully my head is less trying to destroy me. But I'm going to end early. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Thanks for chatting a little bit and being here while I effectively just recorded a YouTube video. But I'm going to go lay down in the dark for a little bit, try and get this headache to go away, and work on this YouTube video. You guys can see it on the YouTubes tomorrow. Links down below. But I'm going to get out here. You guys, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. I'll see you guys in a couple of days, hopefully. Ooh, excuse me. I'll see you guys in a couple of days, hopefully. Stay safe. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in a few days. Thanks, guys.
You have now, don't count what you don't